Hello, unwavering soul of Scorpio. If you've made it here, it's because something in your spirit has already sensed the shift. You may not be able to name it yet, but you feel it, don't you? A restlessness beneath the surface, like the ground is preparing to break open, like your life is quietly reconfiguring itself behind the curtain of the ordinary. And now, as the last 3 days of July draw near, this quiet rearrangement reaches a climax. What's coming for you is not chaos, it's clarity. It's the moment you stand at the edge of 3 versions of your future and are asked to decide not just what you want, but who you're finally ready to become. The first version is the easiest to stay in, not because it brings joy, but because it asks nothing new of you. It's the reality where you keep your head down, pretend not to see the red flags, and tell yourself that maybe this is as good as it gets. You stay in relationships that feel more like emotional contracts than love stories. You keep jobs that drain you, habits that numb you, and patterns that make you feel small but at least predictable. It's the path of self-betrayal, disguised as peace. And you know this path well. You've survived it. But the question now is, can you keep living in it without slowly abandoning yourself? The second version is a compromise. It's where you start to pull away from what hurts. You set boundaries. You say no when you mean no. You begin to choose yourself, but only in certain rooms. Only in ways that don't threaten the structures around you. There is healing, but it's incomplete. There is growth, but it's calculated. You're still managing your truth instead of embodying it. This version is seductive because it offers improvement without disruption. But deep down, Scorpio, you were never meant for half measures. And you know that healing that keeps you palatable isn't true healing at all. And then there's the third version, the one that feels like fire in your lungs and thunder in your bones. The version where you stop explaining your boundaries, stop dimming your depth. Stop romanticizing the people who can't meet you where you are. This version is raw. It's painful. It's liberating. It demands that you let go of every attachment that was built on your silence. It asks you to become so intimate with your truth that you can no longer pretend to tolerate the false. And yes, this path will cost you, but it will cost you all the right things. And it will give you back your soul. These final days of July are not just days on a calendar. For you, they are a ritual, a reckoning, a realignment with a version of yourself that no longer wants to suffer for love, shrink for peace, or abandon yourself for belonging. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be loyal to your own transformation, even if no one claps for it. And what comes next is not a prize, it's a reflection. The universe is not going to reward you for pretending to be less complicated, less emotional, less intuitive. It will reward you for being exactly what you are, a force of nature disguised as a human being. You've spent enough time surviving environments that couldn't handle your truth. Now, you're being asked to create a life that reflects it. And when you do, something ancient inside of you will start to stir. Your intuition will get louder. The betrayals won't hurt the same way. Your solitude won't feel like punishment, it'll feel like preparation. You'll stop needing closure from people who were never meant to understand you. You'll begin attracting experiences that match your frequency, not your fears. And the relationships that remain, they'll be real, messy, perhaps, but honest, sacred, aligned. So don't rush these days. Don't distract yourself from the discomfort. Let yourself feel every pull, every ache, every moment of doubt, because buried inside that discomfort is your answer. Not the convenient one, not the easy one, the real one, the one that sets you free. And Scorpio, when you finally choose that third path, the one that demands your full presence, your full truth, your full light, nothing will ever be able to pull you back into who you used to be. Because you won't just be changing your life, you'll be reclaiming it. And that is where the real destiny begins. And when you begin to choose that third path, not with bravado, but with quiet conviction, the universe will respond in kind. The final 3 days of July won't be subtle. They will speak to you in ways that bypass logic and pierce straight into your spirit. You won't need to seek signs, they will come seeking you. People you haven't heard from in years may suddenly reach out, not out of coincidence, but because your energy has shifted and they can feel it. You'll find yourself in conversations where others look to you, not just for advice, but for clarity, for grounding, for a sense of something deeper they can't quite name, but you embody it now. And they sense it. You'll walk into rooms and notice the air shift. The dynamic will adjust, not because you're trying to dominate, but because your presence no longer adapts to fit the room, it defines it. And for perhaps the first time in a long time, you'll see it clearly. The impact you have, the weight your words carry, the way your silence speaks louder than noise, the way your truth unsettles and liberates in equal measure. You'll begin to notice that your very existence challenges what is false and awakens what is real. It won't be about applause or validation. It will be about resonance. You'll feel it when someone looks at you and you know they're seeing not just your face, but your power. You'll sense it when your intuition picks up on a situation's undercurrent before a word is spoken. You'll understand that you've never needed to shout to be heard. Your energy does the speaking for you now. And in those moments, there will be no going back. Because once you witness the truth of your influence, once you feel the ripple of your healed presence, once you recognize the sacred weight of who you are, when you are no longer hiding, you will finally understand what it means to be a Scorpio on purpose. And the world, it won't know what hit it. But you will, because you'll remember that this power, this clarity, this magnetism, it was never something you had to earn. It was always something you had to reclaim. And then comes the awakening, the moment you stop waiting for someone to hand you a title, validate your worth, or grant you permission to rise. Because you'll finally see how absurd it is to wait for approval in a world that was never designed to understand your depth in the first place. This is the moment leadership is no longer something you hope for, it becomes something you embody. Not because someone else said you could, but because your soul remembers that you always could. And no, this isn't arrogance. It isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about being true to the original blueprint you were born with. The one you tried to bury to make others comfortable. The one that made you feel too intense. Too emotional. Too much. For people who never had the capacity to hold your light. But when you drop the need to be palatable, when you stop contorting yourself into roles that were never yours to begin with, your true essence rise not louder, but clearer. Not aggressive, but undeniable. And suddenly, people begin to respond to you differently, not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally stopped apologizing for it. You'll notice the shift in their eyes, in their posture when you speak, in the way they lean in, not out of fear, but out of deep, instinctive recognition. There's a quiet authority that lives in you when you no longer need the world's applause to feel worthy. You become magnetic not because you're trying to attract, but because you've stopped chasing. You've rooted so deeply into your own power that the world has no choice but to adjust around you. And from this place, Scorpio, you begin to lead not with force, but with truth, not with ego, but with alignment. You become the kind of leader who changes the atmosphere simply by being present. The kind who doesn't need a platform to be heard because your energy has already said what needs to be said. And the people who are meant to hear it, they will. Because now, you're finally speaking in the frequency of your own soul. And as you stand fully in this energy, the real transformation begins not just externally, but deep within the very architecture of your soul. These final 3 days of July are not just about changes. You can see they are about a spiritual fire that moves through you quietly but relentlessly. burning away every mask you've worn to survive. Every fear you've carried, like armor. Every habit of shrinking yourself just to keep the peace. It won't feel gentle. It won't feel polite. It will feel raw and sacred and necessary. You may find yourself grieving versions of you that once kept you safe. Personas that helped you belong in rooms that were never meant to hold your full self. But as the false layers fall away, what remains is something unshakable, the pure core of who you were always meant to be. In that essence, your true, undiluted leadership needs no decoration. It stands on its own, confident without arrogance, grounded without apology. You begin to trust your voice not because it's louder, but because it's finally honest. You begin to inspire not by performing, but by living. You begin to move through the world with a quiet certainty that your dreams are not just fantasies, they're blueprints, waiting for your permission to be built. And when you commit to them, not because anyone else believes in them, but because you finally do, that's when the shift becomes undeniable. This is not just spiritual growth. This is spiritual homecoming. And from this place, you don't just lead, you illuminate. You don't just rise, you bring others with you. Because that's what true transformation does. It doesn't ask for applause. It asks for presence. And Scorpio, you're ready to give it fully, fiercely. And finally, but with every true transformation comes a final test, not to punish you, but to purify what you're stepping into. And this one will ask more of your heart than any other. Because once you begin to live from this deeper place of truth, not everyone will be able to come with you. The shift in your energy will be so profound that it naturally exposes everything that's no longer in resonance. And this is where the challenge begins, not in moving forward, but in letting go of what anchored you to the past. Some people, whether they love you or not, will feel deeply uncomfortable with your evolution, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your growth reminds them of the places within themselves they've refused to visit. They may question you, withdraw from you, or try to draw you back into familiar patterns. You'll notice the subtle tension, the way conversations feel different, the way you're asked to explain yourself for simply being more you/in or dot. And it will hurt not because you need their permission, but because a part of you still longs to be loved without condition. Certain relationships will rise to the surface for reevaluation. Connections you once held sacred may now feel strained, confusing, or painfully outdated. The roles you played, peacemaker, fixer, emotional container, will no longer feel natural. And you may find yourself resenting the ways you've been expected to show up. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're awakening. And your relationships must either meet you at your new level of truth or dissolve with grace. It will be tempting to hold on, to shrink just a little to keep things peaceful. But this is the moment you learn that peace built on your silence is not peace, it's self-abandonment. And then there are the environments, places that once felt like home, spaces that once embraced you, that now feel tight, limiting, and hollow. You'll walk into familiar rooms and wonder how you ever fit inside them. You'll sit in old conversations and feel like a ghost among the living, not because you've outgrown love, but because you've outgrown the illusion that fitting in is the same as belonging. You'll crave expansiveness, people who speak your language, spaces that hold your power, energy that doesn't drain you but amplifies you. And until those things arrive, you may feel profoundly alone. But this solitude is not a curse. It's preparation. It's sacred ground. It's the quiet before the blooming settle. Because what's being removed from your life is not punishment, it's permission. Permission to stop negotiating your worth. Permission to stop seeking shelter in people and places that cannot hold you. Permission to stop asking for understanding where there is no willingness to listen. This is the final threshold. To cross it is to leave behind the safety of the old world and walk into the unknown terrain of your becoming. And Scorpio, You were built for this. You've danced with darkness. You've buried versions of yourself and risen again. You've felt the sharp edges of grief and still chosen to open your heart. So when the tests arrive, and they will meet them with the same quiet power that has always lived in your bones. You don't need to explain your growth. You just need to honor it. And from that place, everything that belongs to your next chapter will find you. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. And when the dust settles, when you've walked through the fire of your own becoming, when the masks have burned away, when the silence has been honored and the old has been laid to rest, what you'll find waiting on the other side is not a new version of you, but the original one, the one who was always there beneath the fear, the one who never needed to be fixed, only remembered. This is not just a season. It is a rite of passage, a sacred threshold that separates the life you were conditioned to live from the life you were born to lead. You are no longer someone with potential. You are the embodiment of it. And the seat of power that once felt distant, reserved for someone more qualified, now reveals itself for what it always was, yours. Not because you demanded it, but because you finally stopped denying it. There will be no more shrinking to soothe the discomfort of others. No more holding your breath in rooms too fragile for your truth. No more pretending you don't know what you carry. Because you do. And now, you're no longer afraid to carry it fully. This is your coronation, not the kind marked by ceremony, but the kind etched into your energy. From this moment forward, your presence speaks louder than titles. Your influence flows not from control, but from alignment. Your power is no longer borrowed, it is reclaimed. Welcome, Scorpio, to the age of your true reign, not over others, but over yourself. Your voice, your energy, your choices. You are not here to follow. You are here to lead by being the most unapologetically authentic version of you that's ever existed. And that is the beginning of everything.